How many of you people out there on a Sunday, you've partied all Saturday and you're just laying in bed all Sunday and you binge on one program, right? That's what they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do it.
Yeah, exactly. So the one movie thing is, I think it's okay for Hollywood, but they've already screwed that shit up. Let's keep giving people what they want.
Holy smokes, fellas. It's Manscaped, the hottest thing to happen to lawnmowers since John Deere came out with the original. And now, they're also one of the most affordable thanks to code WITHHAMMER that'll save you 20% off manscaped.com. The future is now, guys. Head over to manscaped.com and pick out the Performance Package 4.0 to level up your member care before the summer is here. In that Performance Package 4.0, you're going to find the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker, and that is their precision ear and nose hair trimmer. I like the ear and nose hair trimmer myself because I got a girlfriend who gets a little too touchy with the tweezers while I'm trimming. Also in the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver. That's their toner. Throw a dash of that on right after you shave those puppies up, and you'll be feeling good as new after a quick shake of the trees.
Your balls will love you.
Head over to manscaped.com and use code WITHHAMMER to get yourself ready for your summer of fun.
That's with hammer.
The art of making films is where you come in. The art of collecting and distributing funds is where guys like I come in.
Perfect.
It can be stressful. I've been doing this stuff for 40 some years, and there's some projects you just go, shit, I've had to borrow my house back in the day, and all sorts of crazy things. I went without a vehicle for a while because I sold it to sponsor something, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of the game.
Yeah.
But those things make you who you are and goes into those projects.
Yeah, I guess I'm operating at a place of fear, and I probably should step out of that and just be okay with.
As long as you're not cutting your ear off.
Yeah, no, I know. Trust me, I've had this conversation probably about 5 times in the last month with buddies, and I think it will eventually get to that point. I think right now I just gotta slowly get there. And
what kind of car do you drive? We could probably get that sold today.
It's currently in the shop getting its transmission fixed.
Not. Okay. Yeah. But no, I mean, there's a lot of cats like you, a lot of you guys out there that want to make a movie. And I mean, believe it or not, guys, if you have one of these, you can make a movie.
Yeah.
Right, Tim?
Absolutely. Yeah. Dirty Old Wedge, we were shooting with a bunch of different cameras. I'd prefer to shoot with a red camera. Those are, they look the best.
Those are schmancy.
Anything works. Yeah, absolutely.
The funny thing about that used to be reality. And now that reality's gone.
Yeah.
You don't need that any longer.
No.
At all.
iPhone cameras they're nice.
They definitely cut it. And for what people need to do in like this space today, for the quantity and type of content you need to make, you don't need the drones and red cameras as much.
No, can make it work.
We still use all the high-end stuff and all that because it's just always been that way, right? But I see these young kids out there with their phones and they're editing it and doing everything right there. I mean,
yeah.
Tim, as amazing as your 2 films have been, I think you would be very unhappy if you didn't keep going down that.
Oh, I agree. I think I'm going to. We have a film idea that we want to try and get funding for. We've actually kind of put it on the shelf for a little bit, but I think I'm going to bring it back out. It's about pipeline over in Hawaii. Are you familiar with a guy by the name of Mark Cunningham?
I do know who Mark Cunningham is.
So Mark's one of my really close friends, and this feature that we did for the WSL, it was titled Pioneers of Pipeline.
Cool.
He was the narrator. He basically been the lifeguard in pipe since 1974 or something. So he knows everybody and anyone that's gone to that beach and surfed that wave.
Everybody knows who he is.
Yeah. And so our concept was to have basically a documentary that he narrates, kind of make it a little personal about himself, but more about the wave. And I think we have a really good concept. It's just more of getting that done. And people, when they saw this Pioneers of Pipeline series that we did. Like, we want more. We want to see this on a full feature film. And really no documentary has been made about that wave. There's been a couple. Stacy Peralta did one that was really good, but it was, it's outdated. This has a little bit more, our intent would be to make it a little bit more personal to Mark.
I think the better way to go nowadays, and I'll say this to a lot of you filmmakers, is go the Netflix type of direction or the Hulu type of the streaming direction, where you put something together, it does well, and you keep building on that program.
Yeah, maybe a series or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hello, Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
So that's what people really want to see.
Yeah.
How many of you people out there on a Sunday, you've partied all Saturday and you're just laying in bed all Sunday and you binge on one program, right? That's what they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the one movie thing is it's okay for Hollywood, but they've already screwed that shit up. Let's keep giving people what they want.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Yeah. No, we've got some series ideas as well. One with Mark where we're like kind of an Anthony Bourdain type thing where you follow Mark around.
Right.
He's a food guy. He's actually the most personable surfer guy that I know. He gets along with everybody. I mean, I think he's friends with Jackson Brown, Julia Roberts.
Dude.
He's like big time. Yeah. So pretty awesome. And he just gets along with everybody. You just want to follow him around to rad surf spots. I was just in New Zealand with the guy for 11 days.
And did you film anything in those 11 days?
No, and the whole time we're there, I'm like, dang, I should be filming. And his wife, she's phenomenal. Like, they make a good combo. So there's just so many elements.
So you just had Netflix.
We could have done something.
Yeah, exactly. And it would have cost you nothing.
Yeah. And then you add like an environmental, something environmental that he's passionate about in each location, or food, wine, whatever. It doesn't have to be all surf, but there's a surf element.
Right. You got to make it part of surf, but you have to have the food element is super important.
Yeah.
And the living element.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have to have that emotional element.
A little bit of a cause has got to be in there. Yeah.
There you go. And it would have been that simple.
So if you're listening or watching, we want to talk to you about some money for funding this project.
Yeah. Hey, just send us your paychecks.
Now, before we get out of here, I do want to hear a little more, Tim, about how you transitioned from where you grew up surfing into getting into the wedge, and what the draw was there for you.
So I grew up surfing down in Laguna at a spot I'm not going to talk about because it's code.
Because there's hardly any surf in Laguna. Don't go look for it.
Yeah, it's North Laguna. I'm not going to say any more about where, but it was this amazing place. But wedge was always talked about, and I think my uncle and my dad took us down there to wedge when I was like 11 years old. I was instantly just hooked at the power and beauty of the place and just the unique wave itself.
It is a cool one too, because it has a unique beauty.
Yeah.
Right. Like when you see the wave, especially depending on where it is in the set or whatever. I mean, there's sand coming up the face. There's this gnarly burble here and there. There's this foam. So
it's spooky.
As far as beautiful glass, like if you're looking for a 10 out of 10, it's not that. But if you understand the power and kind of bathymetry that goes into making that wave, it's one of a kind.
100%. Yeah. I think a lot of people have the same experience as me, whether you go down the ride, go down to take video or photos of the wave. Like there's photographers there that you would consider a local at the spot, which is it's unique. There's
true.
Ron Romanowski made a living of riding it and photographing it. And yeah, I fell in love with it. And I actually was a boogie boarder at first, growing up. I think most people ride boogie boards to start.
Right. Sure.
And it was funny, like they have this rule called blackball down from 10 a.m. to 5. So I had to put my boogie board on the beach, and I was out there swimming. A guy by the name of Terry Wade was like, "Hey, have you thought about body surfing full time?" And I'm just like, I didn't even know that was really a thing. So that's kind of what triggered it, and I've been hooked on it ever since. So.
And what's that, 25 years ago when you did that?
So I'm 39 now. I guess you could say I was consistently going down there from 16 years old. So
yeah, there you go.
20 something years.
And you got to have a lot of balls to go down there at 16 years old and jump in the.
Yeah, I mean the localism back then. Now it's kind of tamed itself. I think localism is kind of lame. I don't think anyone owns the beach or has the right to tell anyone to get the hell out of the water. I think that's pretty dumb.
Well, I think the lifeguards do, though.
The lifeguards do, 100%, and I will respect that all day.
Yeah.
But back then, less cameras, nobody really around to like tell you can't do that, or nobody was really worried about getting arrested because, I don't know, it was just a different way. And I definitely got dunked. This guy, Chad Barba, he's one of the most legendary bodyboarders. I ran my mouth to him and I shouldn't have, and he came right over and I learned my lesson. But now if I were to do that, I'd go to jail. I'd be and the parents would be suing me. It's a different, like, now the only times I'll get upset out in the water at Wedge is when someone's being unsafe. I'm actually stoked to see kids out there and ride and have fun, and it reminds me of what I was doing back then. As long as you're not dropping in on me and hitting my head on the sand, then I'm cool with it. Just maybe try to be aware of your surroundings, and
as long as you're not bouncing the other guy like a basketball, you're okay.
And that's the thing that goes for everybody. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you think you are, who you were once, or who you want to be. You've got to be aware of your surroundings, who else is around you, and what you're there to do. Yeah.
I think the thing that really bugs me, though, I will say, is when kids, you can tell they don't even really know the ocean or how to surf all that much, and they come down there with the soft top. They skip the Blackies lesson, go right to Wedge, and that creates a dangerous situation.
By the way, the Blackie lesson is a very, very important one to learn.
Yeah. Help those surf coaches buy a 12-pack afterwards.
Exactly. All right. Yeah.
Are we talking the Blackies bar lesson? Or?
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Can I get another line with that, please?
But I also think that, like, the stiff word for localism, in terms of, like, not having to dunk people anymore, but really shame people with your words, is almost, like, effective in a lot of ways, because people are so shit at communicating now that if you can try and, like, somebody who had a D+ average on their best year in high school, if you can try and drill it into that brain that they did something wrong, and it does help them grow a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but guys, D+ is still passing. I remember.
Hey, I was one of those guys too. It's all good.
Don't be ashamed of your D+.
What was it? D's get degrees.
That's right.
No, I think it's I actually enjoy paddling over to kids and stoking them, getting them all pumped. And if they do, man, I used to get pretty fired up, and now I'll just be like, hey, here's the deal. This is what you may not know what you did wrong, so here's just teach them.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with just teaching them and removing emotion from it.
I do think it's different for adults making the mistake, though.
Adults are different,
dude.
If an adult, because that's a lot more painful.
Yeah,
I've already had neck surgery. I already have my shoulder. I don't need any more surgery. So I definitely. I will be a little bit more direct with some guys, especially if they are acting like
children.
Yeah.
And if it's a guy who isn't, I think, as, like, plugged in with the community, aware of the spot, and shows up like he owns it.
There is a pecking order no matter where you go.
Yeah.
I guess that's the one localism.
Have a little bit of lineup literacy if you're going out there.
Exactly. I'm not going to paddle out to pipeline and start going for every wave. You just gotta warm your way into it. And I've seen guys, you come down there for 5-6 seasons, they're in the mix, they're getting in the mix, and there's nobody that's going to tell them they can't. Yeah. In the beginning, you just got to be aware, just be more conscious of what's going on. And
you can be Kurt Warner and jump in and win a Super Bowl, but most guys aren't doing
They're
that.
Not doing that.
You've got to earn the respect of everybody else out on that wave.
And that could be said for life too, right? You're not
absolutely, yeah. And if you're not careful, even a 9-pound dog will regulate on you.
Yeah, it's like that's what.
Maisie's about ready to go out and get on the wave.
She's protecting. She's the local.
Hey guys, hit that subscribe, hit that like. We love you. We'll catch you next time.